A cull of oysters from Big Glory Bay on Stewart Island has begun in a bid to stop a fatal parasite spreading excuse me, to the wild fisheries in Foveaux Strait. We've talked about this at length, of course. The Ministry for Primary Industries has ordered 14 farms at Stewart Island to pull up their oysters because they've become contaminated with the parasite. Our reporter Maya Burry was there as the removal got underway this morning.
Nestled away in the northeast of Stewart Island and surrounded by a rugged, untouched landscape, Big Glory Bay's waters are peppered with black buoys, marking the oyster and mussel farms that fill it. MPI estimates there are about 4,000 tonnes of oysters in this remote bay, but now every last one of them is to be pulled out. The Ministry's operations manager for the Stewart Island oyster removal, Andrew Sander, was out on the water this morning as the first oyster cages began to be removed.
As you see, we've got two vessels in the sea behind us. One is a barge and the other is a freighter. So the idea is that when the oysters are pulled up from the sea, they go onto the barge. They're then reconnected to the freighter and lifted into the hold of the ship. Once they're inside the ship, they're sprayed with a chlorine-based solution to ensure that they are clean.
Once the oysters and the cages have been disinfected and wrapped in plastic, they are being shipped via an indirect route to Bluff to avoid the parasite spreading to wild oyster beds in Foveaux Strait. Andrew Sander says all the oysters and the cages are destined for a landfill near Invercargill. He doesn't agree that the Ministry has acted too slowly by only starting the removal operation now, more than 3 weeks after the parasite was detected at 2 farms in the bay.
Look, at the end of the operation there'll be an extensive debrief. From that we'll be looking at ways to improve our processes. There'll be a way to perhaps quicken up certain processes. At the moment I'm pretty satisfied that we've done everything we can to ensure that we do the job properly from day one and not make mistakes as we go through.
There are a number of farms in the bay that use lines which mussels and oysters are sewn onto, and they're harder to remove than oyster cages. Some farmers expect the work will take months. Mr Sander says at the moment a timeline isn't clear.
It's probably too soon to answer that question, but certainly we hope by the end of today or tomorrow we'll have a better indication on how long it may take. So we're just doing the one trip today. The expectation and the hope is that we may be able to eventually do 2 trips a day.
Mr Sander says while today is a positive step towards stopping the spread of the parasite, it is a difficult one for the marine farmers of Big Glory Bay, who have put time and energy into building up their businesses.
My heart goes out to the affected people. You know, it's very easy for us to sit back and say, oh, we're just going to lift some cages. We've got to look at the human side of things, and MPI is very, very conscious of that. So we have support available for the farmers.
Andrew Sander says MPI was meeting with some of the affected farmers today to discuss compensation. He says community meetings are also being held in Bluff and Stewart Island this week. In Bluff for Checkpoint, Maya Burry.